Reform tops them, and lately the Reform has been topping them. Other times Labour's been slightly ahead. There's been the odd poll that puts the Conservative Party ahead. All I will say is that we're around 4 years away from a general election, and anything can happen in 4 years. If a week is a long time in politics, I don't know how you would describe 4 years.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. This is Talk Weekend Breakfast, 8:30, Saturday, February the 22nd. Lots of messages coming in. Good morning, says Mike. Donald Trump is not just a bully, he is a facilitator. He's the headmaster mediating between a bully and the victim, and tells the victim to go and find another school because it would be better for them. That is Mike. Donald Trump will be the man that saves the United Kingdom from the woke brigade. That's Edmund in Belfast. As a Scottish woman, this is Claire, good morning, living in Scotland, I don't fear the Donald. I'm grateful for him. At least he knows what a woman is. Have a great day. Mike Tomlinson, good morning. Sorry, I've done his one, that one already. There was one more that I wanted to do. Good morning, David. I'm loving the show as always. This is Claire. Should Britain fear Donald Trump? No way. We need to fear the far-left government and the radical establishment that is the enemy within. This Labour regime is leaving our country powerless to foreign infiltration and influence, especially from Iran, which I feel its influence is underestimated. Keep all of those messages coming in, please. Should the UK fear Donald Trump? 0344 499 1000. And now it's time for Head to Head. Head to Head. Well, joining us this morning, Andrew Eborn, barrister and broadcaster who we haven't seen for a long time, and Andy Williams, political commentator. Good morning.
Good morning. It's a joy to be back.
Oh, well, it's lovely to see you. Let's start, shall we, with this. There are lots of headlines this morning. Let's start with this. Prime Minister to defy Trump with new aid for Ukraine. Starmer, Macron's going to be tough. He's going to be tough on Trump. Meanwhile, Keir Starmer's going to pussyfoot around and he's going to say, oh, look, here we are. We're going to increase GDP spending. And also here's a note from the King. Andy.
Well, I think...
Is Starmer the right man for the job? Or,
yes.
Or according to the Telegraph, Britain has the worst government at the most dangerous possible time.
Well, firstly, I mean, this Alistair Heath column, he says, quite rightly, Trump is pulling the plug on Ukraine. He's conceded far too much to Russia, which is clearly the case. I mean, Trump is supposed to be the arch negotiator, you know, the art of the deal. And here he is saying, we're going to start a negotiation, but before we start it, you can have pretty much everything you want already. And I just think it's astonishingly bad and deeply concerning. In terms of Starmer, he's going to go there on Thursday.
What should he have done?
What should Trump have done?
Yeah.
Well, not say, Russia, you can, NATO's off the table. We're going to help you end the war, by the way. We have a great partnership. We're actually really good friends and I respect you. And there's Elon Musk having a go at Zelensky, meanwhile. I mean, it's just madness. People are drawing a false equivalence now between Putin and Zelensky as if they're equally bad. They are not. You know, Putin factually is a murderous dictator who jails and kills his opponents, who's shut down the media in his own country, who has invaded a sovereign nation, and we, by which I mean the West, have failed to stand up to him. And now Trump has failed to stand up to him and is facilitating and giving him exactly what he wants.
Andrew, is Trump a genius, or is there is a streak of madness here, or is what he's doing the art of the deal, which is he's gone in and he's gone in high. He knows he has to compromise at some point. There are lots of questions about the annexation of Crimea, what we should have done in 2014. We are where we are. Zelensky is, I don't think you can say he's without blame in certain aspects, but when Trump said that Zelensky started it, yes, Boris Johnson said, don't believe that literally, i.e., the trying to exceed into NATO, poke the bear, and what Putin has done is respond to that, and that is essentially what Trump is replying.
You're absolutely right. And for me, the key message was when he employed Mark Burnett, who created this character on The Apprentice. He was the guy who did this. Mark Burnett is now the US envoy to the UK. So he moulds Donald Trump into this character. Every little thing that he does, every little soundbite is the art of the deal. And that's what he's trying to do. We had to put this into context. And actually, you go back to 2019, and the 26th of July, the phone call that Trump made to Zelensky, apparently asking for support from the Ukrainian president to find some dirt on Biden. And you might remember that sort of led to all sorts of things as a result of it. What's happened is the language pattern of Trump. He says, well, I had a really good call with Putin, but I had a terrible call with Ukraine. So he doesn't even mention Zelensky when he talks about the language. But he's going for this land grab. He's probably going for the biggest land grab in history. So when he talks about turning the Gaza into Gaza Riviera, he talks about Ukraine, I want all their minerals. He wants to annex Canada and anywhere else and also take over Mars. I guarantee it's the biggest land grab in history. He's the art of the deal, that's what he is. So in answer to your question, I think he's a mad genius, but he knows how to get people on his side.
Should the United Kingdom fear Donald Trump?
Absolutely. We have, if you look at the glorious presidential inauguration, is what we had. I was unpacking it with Errol Musk, who's on my show all the time, and we watched it and we look at the language. It was the best I've ever seen Trump. You then compare that with the charisma bypass that is Starmer, and you look at that sort of thing. So absolutely, we need characters. We need strong characters here, which is why Farage and various others, is why people used to love Boris. Is he's a strong character. We're missing those at the moment.
I mean, it is extraordinary, isn't it? It has changed overnight. So now Donald Trump. I mean, this is the thing. You can't really actually work out what Trump's going to do next. So he said we're going to cut Zelensky out of this because it's me and Putin. Then this morning he says that Zelensky needs to meet with Putin. I don't know whether I'm coming or going.
No, and I genuinely don't know whether he's actually playing 4D chess and is this genius that, as Andrew's describing.
Yes.
And maybe, genuinely, maybe he is. Or maybe he's a complete nutcase who's just sort of shooting from the hip and waking up and tweeting and doing... I genuinely don't know, and I don't think anybody else knows.
Well, I'll tell you what happens, and because I predicted in this very studio. Do you remember when we had that mugshot, that glorious mugshot? And I said to you at the time, he will be the next president. He will get elected again. And the more that they threw at him, the more his popularity rose. And it's exactly what happened. So people are getting behind him. He peddles this particular narrative of himself as the victim. And so he's basically, well, I'll tell you what he's going for, because he's an egotistical maniac, of course.
Of course he is.
But he wants the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yes, Caroline
said that.
In order
to... Well, she's right. She agrees with me. Everybody agrees with me, he's right. So the Nobel Peace Prize, so he wants to sort out Ukraine. He wants to sort out Gaza, even it's going to be Gaza.
Build Trump Tower.
Build Trump Tower. Everything's going to be gold with the gold toilets and that sort of stuff.
Meanwhile, the Arabic countries are absolutely apoplectic.
Absolutely. But that's what he wants. So if you look at that as the man, then you can work out, if one understands the sort of method behind that. It's also interesting at the inauguration, the three people he had front and centre were the tech titans. A combined wealth of 800 billion. That's his way forward. He realises the power. Online is the new front line. So cozying up to people like Elon Musk and how he can do that. Reversing the thing on TikTok was exactly that sort of thing, because that's how it appealed to the youth.
And by the way, all of those people who you've just mentioned, those tech titans, Zuckerberg, etc., they've all rolled over for him.
Yeah, they have.
I mean, it is. I think it's particularly Zuckerberg, I think, has deeply embarrassed himself and tarnished his reputation permanently. Yeah, because he said for years and years, DEI is really important, content moderation is really important, we need to keep our platform
safe. But if your
safe.
business is under threat by the incoming president, wouldn't you do everything you can to protect your business?
I understand the motivation, but the way he has done a complete volte-face and rolled over in the most embarrassing way, I think.
But it's interesting because the tech thing, and it's the horrendous story about Apple now getting rid of certain levels of encryption.
Which is big concern.
You do that. Data is the new currency, and if you start losing this sort of stuff and people get access to it, and the problem is this: it's a legal problem because you're imposing obligations on the tech companies to basically crack down on certain things. Otherwise, they get fined a percentage of their global turnover. So what happens is he needs the tech titans are cozying up to Trump to basically get rid of some of those regulations. He can apply that pressure because the money will then go to tech titans.
Let me ask you about that, Andy. So obviously this is the United Kingdom government saying we need a backdoor into Apple's encrypted iCloud so that we can look after nefarious characters and see what they've been getting up to online. Apple says absolutely not, there is no backdoor. So what they've done, because the UK government said this is going to apply to a global population, Apple has turned around and said, right, right, we're turning it off in the United Kingdom.
Crazy.
I mean, I'm deeply concerned this is real Big Brother stuff.
It is.
It is a concern, and I know that they've tried to do the same in the past. Government's tried to do the same with WhatsApp in the past, which is part of Meta, and WhatsApp
Which is end-to-end encrypted.
Which is end-to-end
Yeah.
encrypted, and they've said absolutely not as well. You know, we're not going to roll over for anybody. And the problem with trying to regulate technology on a jurisdiction by jurisdiction basis is that technology is cross-border by definition. So it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. We have to pause just for the moment. We'll continue with Andrew and Andy after this break. The A squared after this break. This is Weekend Breakfast. Good morning.
Be the best you can be with Oanda. We help you trade smarter. Take advantage of our advanced mobile charting, dozens of technical indicators, and our competitive spreads. Download our app and apply today.
Be your best.
Pass your driving test the faster way with National Intensive. We focus on intensive driving courses, which can be completed over 1 to 8 weeks. Book anything from 5 to 45 hours and prices from just £400. Services we offer. 1. Intensive driving course.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We're in the middle of our head-to-head this morning with Andy and Andrew A squared. Let's talk about this big story in the Telegraph this morning. Labour is considering aligning with multiple European Union rules to fulfil a manifesto pledge on reduced border checks. Apparently, behind our backs, the government's negotiating team has privately accepted, wait for this, full alignment with the EU's food safety regulations is required in order to ease agricultural exports to the bloc. Senior European sources warn that Britain would have to make concessions on the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice to strike an agreement. What part of Brexit is this?
It's crazy, isn't it? I'll tell you what happened. So Boris got elected on Get Brexit Done.
Which he didn't.
And Starmer's got elected on Get Brexit Undone. And that's the nonsense of this. And it was not a surprise, because, thank you, it's not a surprise. He did say that he was going to do this. He is cozying up to EU. All of the stuff that people voted for, and it was a democracy, they voted to come out. They voted for Brexit. It may not have been delivered yet, and there are obviously questions on that. But quite clearly, he's going back, he's cozying up and taking away some of the fundamental points.
Did people vote to make Britain poorer? Did people... Hang on. Did people vote for a 27% drop in exports to the EU? Did people vote for a 10%...
Wait.
No. Did people vote for a 10% decline in our overall trade globally? No, they didn't, but that is the outcome.
So should they undo Brexit? Should they undo Brexit?
No, and I'm not in favour of... I've never been in favour of that, and I'm not in favour of a second referendum either.
OK, hang on a minute.
I'm in favour of making Brexit work properly.
Well, I would agree with that, but also we knew at the time that it would be a long-term solution, so that there would be a dip in trade initially, but it would regrow. So is the answer then to kowtow to the European Union and say, OK, roll over, tickle our belly, we will align ourselves with your regulations, or do you have mutual recognition of our standards as a developed country? The EU actually recognises our standards.
Yes.
Well, you could do that. You could look at it as kowtowing.
I am looking at it
And
like
if you're,
that.
yeah, and I'm sure if you're Jacob Rees-Mogg or if you're Nigel Farage, that's what you know.
Or
Brexit's
David Bull.
wonderful.
Or David Bull.
Indeed.
Which one of
indeed.
those? All of them. All three of us happening.
More so.
Mm-hmm.
But in the real world,
Yes.
businesses that export to the European Union will be delighted by this news because this is going to make their businesses grow faster.
So it's Brexit jigsaw puzzle. You turn around and say, I'll have that bit, but I won't have that bit.
Well,
It's either Brexit, you're either in or out. You can't be half pregnant.
Well, but you can augment it, and that's why there is a review starting this year of the deal that we all agree, maybe for different reasons, was a disastrous deal.
Well, it
So,
was.
so
that's
you,
why
well,
things.
it
and
was.
that's
you
why,
agree we
yeah.
can pick and choose?
Well, we can pick and choose some aspects, but obviously there are red lines on both sides, aren't there?
Well, also, the price of all of this. Remember, the EU played a blinder in terms of the way they negotiated, and they did it extremely well. The price of all of this, if we give an inch, the price will be UK fishing.
Yes,
they
of
want
course they
our
will.
fish.
They do.
And we are slowly getting recovery of our fishing.
No, absolutely. British fishery is the best in the world. The reality is this: we should get a bit of the Trump influence, where he turns around and says, "Tariffs, my favourite word." You use that as a negotiating tool. We need tougher negotiators, not people who kowtow, as you say, turning around. It's a reversal of one of the Brexit principles, and it's wrong.
I believe so.
Good for business.
But it's a reversal of the principle. People have voted for it. If you believe in democracy,
Ask exporters and ask entrepreneurs.
Andrew's right. That is not the point. We had a democratic vote over what the British people wanted.
Yeah.
They voted one way. It is not up to businesses to change the rules.
simple.
Is it?
Simple.
Okay.
Democracy.
I think we should be looking at what matters is what works, and I think we should be looking at the common sense position, which is closer alignment, not going back into the EU.
But the point is that actually what we should be doing is trading more with the rest of
Yes.
the world and setting standards in this country
Absolutely.
and having this as the gold standard instead of kowtowing to Europe.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, I think we should be doing both.
Well, you can't
I
do
agree.
Not kowtowing, but aligning
So they can,
to boost our
so
trading
they can
prospects.
recognise our standards.
Absolutely.
You come to us.
And that's what people voted for. And you believe in democracy.
I do,
Thank
absolutely.
you. So if you believe in democracy, we're right. Thank you. We've done it 2 against 1.
Right.
Yes.
I think we'll have a short pause because then I want to talk about what's going on in Birmingham at the
Yes.
Five Guys store. And also, I would like to talk about the story that I mentioned to Claire Muldoon because apparently saying ladies and gentlemen to people is terribly offensive.
Oh, it is.
In the meantime, how would you like to win £25,000 right now?
It's competition time, and we're giving you a chance to win a whopping £25,000. So what do you need to do to get involved? All you have to do is text the word prize to 83338, or you can enter by post. It's as simple as that. Once again, to get involved, just text the word prize to 83338, or you can enter by post.
18 plus, UK excluding NI. Enter by SMS for £2 plus 1 standard network charge by 11 p.m. on March the 3rd, 2025. Or send your name, email and contact number to £25,000 cash competition, PO Box 3190, Colchester CO2 8GP to arrive by 5 p.m. on March the 6th, 2025. This is a News Broadcasting Network promotion. Full terms and conditions at talksport.com.
Wow, £25,000. So there you are. We'll go to a break. After the break, I want to talk about Five Guys. They've made a major change to a Birmingham store in the United Kingdom. They have made a Birmingham restaurant halal only and banned booze. We'll talk about that after this break.
This is Talk.
Welcome back. This is Talk. We're in the middle of head-to-head with the A-Squares with Andrew Eborn, barrister and broadcaster, Andy Williams, political commentator. Let me tell you what's going on in Birmingham. Five Guys, it is a burger chain. So Five Guys has made a Birmingham restaurant halal. One of only 5 stores in the country. They've made the decision to make their Fort Dunlop restaurant halal, and they're using halal beef. So, bacon, hot dogs and alcohol have been removed from the menu. Five Guys says our burgers use halal certified British beef that is prepared following specific practices as required to become halal certified, whilst maintaining humane and ethical standards without compromising on animal welfare according to the UK and EU's. In order for the stores to be fully halal certified, we will not offer bacon, hot dogs or alcohol at these stores. What is happening to this country? As far as I'm aware, this is not a Muslim predominant country, and therefore if I want a hot dog in Five Guys, shouldn't I be able to get one washed down with a pint of beer?
Well, this is in a Muslim predominant area. There are 20,000 Muslims in the area, and this is, I mean, I can hear, the sound I can hear is the snowflake right, who are always complaining about the snowflake left, whining about something that doesn't concern them, because this is the free market responding to demand in an area, and that's
hurrah,
what it is.
Hurrah. Five Guys named Mo, quite literally. What I love about it, firstly...
Name Moni.
What I love about it, a couple of things, is that they're going to be doing a vegan restaurant now, which is also going to be offering ribeye, because they don't want to upset the carnivores. It's not true. But the principle is exactly the same. And you're right, it's market forces. If you go to a McDonald's restaurant in China, they will offer you sweet corn ice cream, because that's what the market forces want. So I have no problem with this. The interesting thing, however, is what is the definition of halal? We were talking about this.
We were.
And we should ask some experts, because apparently stunning it, there's a debate between the Muslim academics and scholars whether you stun it beforehand, which is a legal requirement, is still enables it to be classified as halal.
And so the Islamic form of slaughtering animals or poultry involves killing through a cut to the jugular vein, carotid artery and windpipe. The animal has to be alive and healthy at the time, and all blood is drained from the carcass, which seems pretty barbaric. But apparently, according to this, stunning cannot be used. Now, when you talk to the RSPCA, they actually say 84% of cattle, 81% of sheep and 88% of chickens slaughtered for halal meat were actually stunned before.
It's the 12% I worry about.
So I'm really confused about this. And stunning of livestock has been mandatory in the EU, not that we're in anymore, since 1979.
Well, he wants us back. He wants us back. It's one of the
No, he doesn't. Come on, Andrew.
So you're both happy?
I'm delirious. What I would like to know, though, is somebody who is an expert on this, because none of us are, quite frankly, is we can read different things. I do know there is a debate about it, and scholars will turn around and say this is not officially halal if you stun.
Are we worried about this movement where we start, I suppose, giving predominance to minorities in this country, and you start to see this kind of practice across the United Kingdom, i.e. pushing out the indigenous culture of this country? Are we worried about that?
Not particularly, because I think that, as Andrew says, in different parts of Britain, businesses will respond to demand in different ways, and I think it's as simple as that.
It is. And you're talking about it, actually, when you're absolutely right, you don't want the minority to dictate for the majority, but in this particular area, the majority would prefer to have halal, stunned or otherwise.
Fair enough. By the way, saying ladies and gentlemen is offensive.
It is.
Apparently, folk dancing should drop terms like ladies and gentlemen, because you are offending minority gender. Yes, this is in the heady world of English folk dance and song society. Apparently, there is new guidance saying that you need to use gender-free language, because apparently it is absolutely disgraceful to have male and female roles, even though you have a caller, apparently. You have men and women, you need to drop all of that and you need to have colours instead.
It's all a bit silly, isn't it, really? I mean, let's come on, it is. It's just silly. It's just silly. The ladies and gentlemen,
very serious about it.
I know they are, and they should relax.
And the headquarters of this particular organisation just around the corner from me at Regent's Park.
No, it's in Camden.
Dodgy
part of Regent's Park.
North Regent's Park, the bit we sort of occasionally go to. And what's interesting is their suggestions as to how to replace, ladies and gentlemen. They suggested larks and robins, which is a load of rubbish. I want to be a hawk, not a lark. I get more offended being called a robin.
Larks sound lovely.
Larks and robins, bands and bears, and leads and follows. So you're going to divide leads and follows. So that's even worse, isn't it?
I understood the colours, though. I could get on board.
What colour would you be?
Well, I'd probably be a very strong masculine
you
blue.
Would. Boo! I'll be a red.
Also, apparently, you can't use the word partner.
No.
It's problematic.
Of course it is.
Why?
Well, in case you're single.
No, yeah, exactly. Which is why you go Kaylee dancing. You can't go...
I thought you were going to be on side with
Yes, come on.
It's just no.
In your loony lefty parallel universe.
Turns out that I'm actually not that loony and not that left.
Not.
Yes.
No.
I think don't go to a dance if you're going to be offended by these things. I think this is the whole... It's steeped in history. It's like saying I'm going Scottish dancing where you're going to upset the English, the Irish and whatever else. Don't do it. Don't go. Don't change heritage.
Now, we're going to talk about this with Steve Denyer in a minute, but we know that Amazon has bought the James Bond franchise, which many people are very concerned about, because it also, what does it mean about their future storytelling? Who do you think should be Bond?
Well, I was at a restaurant over the road in Borough Market yesterday and I saw Andrew Garfield. He was at the table next to me and I thought...
Was he?
Did
you say?
You could be the next James Bond. Could be him. Could it be him? Idris Elba was talked about for years, wasn't he? But he's probably a little bit old
He's
now,
a bit
maybe.
old, yeah.
I love it. Here we go. This is the cartoon. Well, I've disrupted everything else. There's a picture of the Donald in the James Bond thing.
Oh my God!
Isn't that good? Work on that sort of
79 years old.
So should James Bond stay as a British agent?
Not necessarily. I mean, Piers Brosnan's not British.
No, he's not. No, that's true. He's Irish. But what about an American playing Bond?
Don't see
Or
why
a
not.
woman.
What?
Don't see why not.
They had 007 change. No, but they changed it in the last movie.
Yeah,
Spoiler alert.
I think
I would say
Barbara
though there
Broccoli-
is something uniquely British about the character.
Of course
So I
there
think
is.
if an American played Bond, he'd probably have to be, play someone British.
And I will talk to Steve about this. Is the worry that once Amazon buys it, they will not really understand what it is to make Bond quintessentially English and those idiosyncrasies that are in Bond?
Yeah.
I'm nervous that they just turn out another action-packed thriller.
Well, I don't think they'll damage the brand. I think the reality, they know what they're doing. Bond is quintessentially British. You have to work on that sort of basis. But I'm also not one, we sort of turn around and say the whole idea about acting is that you can act. And as soon as you're just casting people because they're a particular colour, creed, sexuality, whatever, it's irrelevant. You're getting out that sort of stuff. They will not damage the brand because it will hit them in the wallet.
I'm saying James Norton.
I
think he'd be really good.
Not Graham Norton. I think Graham Norton would be glorious.
I'll tell him that when I see him.
Second Irish Bond, why not?
Graham Norton it is then. Can you imagine? Thank you very much, gentlemen. Really good to see both of you.
Good to see
Andrew
you.
Eborn, barrister and broadcaster, and Andy Williams, political commentator. And that was today's Head to Head. Keep all your messages coming in, please. Should the United Kingdom actually fear Donald Trump? That's the question that I'm asking this morning. Lots of you getting in touch about some of our messages. Pauline says, watch this space. Within 1 year, 5 guys in Birmingham will either close or revert to the previous practice. That's my prediction. Carl says, actually, gentlemen, you are wrong. It is not a Muslim-dominated area. There is one about 2 miles away. Actually, the Nando's there is not halal, whereas the Nando's further down at Star City is halal. And Carl seems to know, obviously, a local. Good morning, David. The Five Guys news is incredible. This isn't a Muslim country where alcohol is banned. Beer should be sold and we should have a choice. The same as... I'm with you, actually. I'm with you. This is Mark in Caterham. This is just a case of pandering to an area becoming a mini Muslim country. Free choice, fine, but in Birmingham, is it really fully Muslim? Mark, there, loads of you are getting in touch about this. I'll go through some more of those after this break. I haven't got time to go through all of those. But should the UK actually fear Donald Trump? Get in touch with all of that. After the break, we're going to be talking about the German elections.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Very good morning to you, just after 9 o'clock on Saturday, February the 22nd. I'm David Bull. This is Weekend Breakfast. Welcome along. Great news if you have just joined us, because the biggest fondue world record attempt is taking place today in Les Rousses, dans la Fosse. They're attempting to create the dish in a pot, and the pot weighs 2,039 kilograms. The current record holder is a team in Fond du Lac in Wisconsin. Their pot was 8 foot in diameter, but weighed less than half, weighing in at 900 kilograms. Now, the fondue was actually made with butterkäse.
David's pronunciation of the German cheese, it's not butterkäse.
What is it then?
It's Butterkäse.
Oh, Butterkäse.
Not butterkäse.
Thank you. All right, Butterkäse. Well done. Butterkäse. Fontina Gruyere and 1-year-old cheddar. Butterkäse. Yum. Thank you. Also, it's Margarita Day today, not the pizza. It's a day celebrating the iconic cocktail. It's served either on the rocks or blended. A salted rim is optional. And the original recipe includes tequila, lime, triple sec, or orange liqueur. Yummy. Bottoms up, bottoms up. Happy birthday also to James Blunt, obviously the singer-songwriter. Before that, he was a British Army captain and stood guard at the coffin of the Queen Mother during her lying-in state in 2002. He is a very youthful 51 today. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Right, let's move on to this hour's fascinating facts. Today's fascinating facts. So today's fascinating facts, on this day in 1857 was the birth of Sir Robert Baden-Powell, the English hero of the siege of Mafeking during the Boer War. He obviously then founded the Boy Scouts. Weirdly, on this day, the same day in 1889, was the birth of Lady Olive Baden-Powell, his wife. She was Chief Guide for Britain in 1918 and World Chief Guide in 1930. Also today is World Thinking Day, celebrated since 1926. It's a day of international friendship, speaking out on issues that affect girls and young women. On this day in 1908, John Mills, the English film and television actor, was born. He made more than 120 films, spanning a career of 7 decades. He often played traditionally British heroes. He was particularly associated with war dramas, such as The Colditz Story and Ice Cold in Alex. He won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor as the village idiot in Ryan's Daughter. On this day in 1969, this was the last time all 4 Beatles were together for a recording session. And those are this hour's and today's fascinating facts.
Weekend mornings we're taking flight. With David Bull, everything feels right. Weekend breakfast, shining like the sun.
Good morning, 6 minutes past 9 on Saturday, February the 22nd. Thank you very much for joining me this morning and for your company this morning. Let me just whiz you through the papers this morning. The Ukraine situation is changing very quickly indeed. The front page of the Daily Telegraph. Prime Minister to defy Trump with new aid for Ukraine. That flies in the face of US policy. Also this morning, so we know that Trump is trying to do a deal with Putin in terms of trying to end the war in Ukraine. We were talking about this morning, that he wants a Nobel Peace Prize. That's what's behind all of this, cutting out Zelensky in the process. Now, this morning, the story has moved on. Trump is saying Zelensky needs to meet Putin. Does that mean that a deal is now on the table and that Zelensky has to ratify that? It remains to be seen where we go with that. Now, at the same time, Macron is meeting Trump. This is on Monday. He says he's going to be very forceful with Donald Trump and use some very rigorous wording. Meanwhile, Keir Starmer is going to meet him on Thursday. According to The Guardian, Starmer seeks to calm Europe's row with Trump. Keir Starmer will not risk riling Donald Trump by challenging him over his attack on the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. He's going to go He's going to dance to Donald Trump's tune, which you could argue is a good thing in many ways. It seems that we are going to increase our GDP spending from 2.3% to 2.5% at the cost of £5 billion a year. That is one thing that Starmer is going to tell Trump. The other thing, he's going to go with a letter to invite him for a full state visit by the King himself. And so really playing and dancing to Trump's tune. There's also a really interesting story in the iWeekend, if you fancy reading that. Russian links to drone sightings over secret UK bases. MPs call for an investigation. This is in my neck of the woods, in RAF Lakenheath and also Mildenhall, talking about Russia being emboldened on the back of Trump's presidency and carrying out covert operations in the United Kingdom. We were also talking about this story in Birmingham about Five Guys, which is a burger chain, has made one of its restaurants halal only. As a result, they have dropped bacon, hot dogs and alcohol from the menu in Britain. Many of you getting in touch. David, Nando's in Luton is halal. This is Nicola in Hertfordshire. Googling it, I found that 80 around the UK are halal. The Five Guys thing is nothing new. Sue in Cambridge says it's time to boycott Five Guys. This is not a Muslim country, although Khan and Labour would like it to be. Keep all of those messages coming in, please, regarding that. This one says, this is Nafati Tari saying, Dr. David, it starts with one restaurant, and before you know where you are, it will be every restaurant. You won't be able to buy a piece of bacon anyway. It started with one mosque, one Islamic school. Now there are more mosques than churches. David, great show. Thank you, Sue. Good morning to you. A few years ago, Westminster Council had a small fete in a local park. They had a barbecue and all the meat was halal. So this has been going on for years. Why must we be forced to eat halal if we don't want to? Mark in Norwich, this has obviously touched a nerve this morning. Five Guys are also doing it in a London restaurant where only 18% of the local population are Muslim and 34% are Christian. I'm boycotting every Five Guys in the country because what they are doing is highly offensive to our Christian country. It is like a church being converted into a mosque. It is highly disrespectful and it should be illegal. David, this is David in Lancashire. Good morning, David. I personally don't have a problem with fast food outlets, etc., serving halal meat as long as it is named perfectly clearly so customers have a choice whether to buy the product or not. Good morning, David. This is Mark in Caterham. The Five Guys news is incredible. This is not a Muslim country where alcohol is banned. Beer should be sold and we should have a choice, the same as pork. This is just a case of pandering to an area becoming a mini-Muslim country. Let me know your thoughts on that, please. Has Five Guys got this right? Are they actually just reacting to the local market and actually this is a free market economy and they're doing the right thing? I just wonder whether it's the right decision to take bacon off the menu and alcohol off the menu in a predominantly Christian country. The number 0344 499 1000. Those calls charged at the national rate. Let's now talk about what is going on in Germany. There is according to the BBC, there is a political tidal wave crashing across Germany, according to the AfD. This is the right of centre. I'm going to say right of centre party. They're often described as far right. It has been labelled radical, racist, anti-democratic by its opponents. The Germany's Domestic Intelligence Service says the party is anti-constitutional. If the polls are right, and I'm looking at the latest YouGov poll, which I think we've got, the latest YouGov poll, and the reason this is important is not just what's going on in Germany, it's what it means for the extrapolation of Europe. So the AfD is now looking like it will come second at 19.7%.